welcome again for the evening session. We have a combination of session where few of the participants are online and some are here present. And it was very essential to get some of them with us. And that's why we went ahead to leverage technology. So today's evening panel discussion is titled Yoga of the Bowls. It will be very much in continuation with all the reflections we have had in the morning conversation with Parvati ji and the other bowl masters. As we have said, this one of the central thoughts of this entire event of the world of bowls is to reflect upon the bowl tradition as the yogic parampara. And from there, that as the source emerges its sound, its song, its dance, its all other expressive forms. So I will make a quick introduction about the panelists today. The purpose of this panel discussion would be to have a diverse panelists who would share their respective views about the tradition from a scholarship perspective, from a practitioner's perspective, from a perspective of somebody who are like a bowl anuragis. For instance, Manjari Sinhaji, she has been following this tradition and its expression for many years, and she has written extensively from a journalistic point of view. So that it's not only the insider's perspective, it is also perceived from others who have been partaking its contributions to the world. So we are trying to provide diverse perspectives on this. So we have amongst our panelists, first and foremost is our senior most panelist, Professor Suniti Kumar Pathak. He currently resides in Shantiniketan, and Suniti Kumar ji is 98 years old, and it's so kind of him that he has joined us. He has a stellar contributions and amazing, unfathomable contributions to the field of Indological studies. He's an Indian Indologist. He's a renowned Buddhist scholar and practitioner. And he has done extensive amount of translations back from Pali into English and Sanskrit. He worked for over 4 decades with Asiatic Society in Kolkata. And then he is instrumental in setting up and founding the Tibetan studies in Shantiniketan in Vishwabharati University. So it would be just impossible to capture the length and breadth of his work in such a short introduction. Next, of course, we have our own Srimati Parvati Baul, who has been leading us through the entire endeavor, and she will be providing the gist and the view about the practice and the tradition from an insider's point of view and how it should be interpreted. Next, we have with us our Manjari Sinhaji, Srimati Manjari Sinhaji. She is a part of our panel, and she's a renowned senior journalist. She is a fantastic bowl anuragi. And like today, we just had a glimpse of her insights into perceiving the art and processing it in such a beautiful way when she was talking about the sound, how to connect with the sound, how do we practice the sound. The nuances and the subtleties she brings in terms of her assessment and appreciation of the art is really exemplary. We are so happy to have her with us here. And we have an assistant professor, Sukanya Sarbadikari. Again, big thanks to her. She is actually traveling and she is in her holidays. She has taken a break from her holiday travel. She is, this is Durga Puja, so they have a big holiday season. So she was traveling down south to Kerala, and then she is right now in airport logging in for us. And she has written a beautiful note for this panel discussion. She will read it out for us. And her areas of study are anthropology of religion, religious studies, and philosophy. And one of the most beautiful things in her work that we come across, often when scholars take up the work on the traditions, it becomes very dry often because they cannot enter into the depths and the intricacies of a practitioner. So most of the time they end up giving a socio-political assessment at the best about what is the tradition and its location. Whereas Sukanya Sarvadikari's studies locates the body, emotions, experience, intuition, all of this, what is their role in the realm of the practitioner. So she has done extensive studies in the Vaishnava Bhakti traditions of Bengal and the Eastern India. And then we have with us Krishna Kanta. I know from our Sanatan Siddhashram. She is a German and she's a practitioner of the Baul path. She has done her master's in the medical anthropology and medical sociology. And since 2019, she has been associated and been under the guidance of Parvati ji and practicing the Baul path. And she does, enormous amount of seva, and she is like our spine and the backbone back in ashram. We are trying to understand from her the perspectives as a practitioner who is not necessarily from the same culture, and how does she process this journey. And then we have with us Shri Sumit Dey from IGNCA, who's an assistant professor, and he is into archiving. We are lucky to have him here, and so he will be joining us as part of the panel. So, without any further delay, the structure of this discussion would be first, we would be having Suniti Babu talk to us, and we have requested him to give his gist and idea about the Baul tradition, especially from the Sahajiya path and the connection with the Bauddha Marga, which he has really attested and asserted that there is a very ancient connection.
Baul is a practice of spiritual type. The human mind has got phenomenology, the two different perspectives. Aharo nidra bhayamanthunanto samannavete posui samana. With the distinction from the human being and the other beings, including those who are oblong spine and those of the upraised spine. The more and more our upraised spine develops, the brain structure becomes separate from the other parts. And in due course, human being is regarded as the virgin oblong being with straight spine. This distinction between an animal of the four-footed or so, I am not going to the wings of the biological point, but there we find that the person with his oblong spine can think over more about himself or herself as well as of the universe behind, around the person. So Baul is actually a word derived from a Sanskrit term Bakul. Bakul means one who is origin, of which origin of existence. Because existence is, as I quoted the verse, Aharo nidra bhayamanthunanto samannamete pasubhi samana. A human being and the other animate beings are common with the four factors. And those four factors make them, the human being, separate and distinct and objective attainment through subjective endeavor and subjective inquisition. What makes a man Baul? Baul is actually a Bengali word which is got relation with the Sanskrit term Vyakulo. Vyakulo means Vyakulo. Vyakulo in Bengali language, one who is origin of existence, origin of internal relation between man to man, and man to the other animals around that. So, বাউল খুঁজে মনের মানুষ, I had the occasion to write a long this বাউল খুঁজে মনের মানুষ. A baul is afterwards a searcher. Of searcher of what? The truth. What is the truth of the existence? The present day world as it stands is actually full of sorrow. And that's why the Buddhists take the word dukkham, dukkham samudaya, dukkha nirodhogamini patipada. So what is the suffering? Suffering is not only the physical but also of the psyche. So Gautam Buddha took a new step in grasping the truth of the world, or truth of the universe, or truth of the personal life in respect of an individual, was the very receptive and very objective. Buddha declared that sorrow is there. Sorrow is there because whatever a man or a person wants to possess, he cannot possess it. So dukkham samudayam, the whole thing is under the misery of existence. The existence itself, according to the Buddhist thought, is painful. Because all these ambitions, all these objectives, all these creative activities, whatever a man proposes or a person proposes, that cannot be achieved at the instant. So dukkha samudaya is a cause of suffering. So in quest of suffering, there are many objective programs have been taken since the holy olden days. When the holy olden days comes, it is according to our Indian thought as it is when the forest has been burned spontaneously. Davanal. Davanal is sudden, all of a sudden in a grove, fire starts. Where from the fire starts? It is originally said that the two branches of the trees are just brushed together, and the result of that, the fire comes. And that is known as Davanal. So a human being inquisitive to know how does it occur. Because there is no fire, but fire is there. And fire is Davanal, the forest fire makes them alert that everything, whatever is created, is liable to change, is liable to pass away, liable to zero. So this is the fundamental question of human being. How does the Davanal or the forest fire occurs and how it appears within themselves? That is the basic point. So similarly, in the case of the human mind, all the human minds are not the same for obvious reasons. So, under these circumstances, a human being becomes more inquisitive to know how this fire burns within one's own mind. Then becomes the question of these 5 factors. Those 5 factors are very important. Ahara nidra, paramantrananta, samannamayate, paravishwa. These 5 conglomerations of objective thought has made one specific approach to the human mind. So I may say that Baul sadhana is a practice or a process how to appease one's own mind by dint of the truth, whatever a person searches. Because our human mind has got so many shortcomings as also so many vigorous points. Vigor comes when we enter into the specific concentration to objectify the cause of the suffering. So Gautam Buddha again and again told about the cause of the suffering, and then he gives the practice of vipassana or vidarsana, and lastly have your own secretion for your remedies.
धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर सुनीति कुमार पाठक आपने for your beautiful sublime introduction. We would now call upon the rest of the panelists. So as we proceed to the next segment, it was actually a very beautiful reflection. The trajectory of Professor Suniti Kumar's thought was moving exactly in a direction where he would eventually connect the dots between the Sahaja practitioners, how they looked at the suffering from the Bauddha path, and what was the alternative that they brought into within the diverse Bauddha paths, and how that would represent something called as in pursuit of Mahasukha and the bliss, and tapping into the infinite joy and bliss in one's own heart, and being very totally non-compliant, and how that reflects within the Baul tradition. That's how it is. And one of the conversations, he was giving a very simple example. He said there was entire Nalanda institutions and Vikramashila, and even to enter that, the guards used to ask number of questions to any visitors, right? So the guards were very, very wise. And there are even somebody like Huan Sang, who came all the way from China, has failed multiple times before getting the admission. So like he took a nearby IIT Roorkee kind of tutorials, and then he trained himself in order to get into Nalanda. So very high wisdom was being shared, but at some point the scholars over there felt that their whole sustenance is dependent on the nearby villages. And they felt that the wisdom has to travel beyond the boundaries of the institution, and the interaction has to happen with the villages. And there, in that interface, the birth of this kind of a path where the villagers understood the gist and essence of the Bauddha traditions and the reflections happened. And that was traversed into the Baul traditions or the Sahajiya traditions more amidst the masses. And this was one way of looking at it. In another trajectory was that of the Nath Parampara. So this was Professor Suniti Kumar's share. He shared these thoughts and in one of our older conversations. Without any further delay, now I would request Sukanya Sarvadikari to read out and share with us her reflections on this very topic.
All right. Thank you. My pranam to all of you, and thank you very much for having me here. I'll be quick in my summarization because I might just get logged out. So, from an academic perspective, the two kinds of approaches that have generally been taken to understanding Baul philosophy, metaphysics, and the Baul way of life in general. One follows their body cosmology, the body theology, which tries to locate the universal male and female energies within the cell and within the body. And the second important analytical perspective has generally been to understand Baul musical lyrics as literary mirrors or reflections of their inner cosmology. These two approaches are more or less understood generally within the academic community. I would personally I take this opportunity to introduce a new kind of perspective. It's experimental, my perspective, and I'd be very, very happy if any of you could react or respond to my potential theorization. So the question that I'm trying to ask is, when we think about baul music, should we only think about the lyrics? Should we only think about what these lyrics intend to say or hide? That is, should we only think of the hermeneutic, the philosophical sense making, the meaning making of the songs? Can we also think about a more basic question, which is, why would the Bauls sing at all? Why could they simply not recite a poem, or maybe just talk among themselves? When they take to music, is there something deeper that is happening? Now, some people have suggested that music used to be a very important method of oral transmission for non literate populations, and songs and simple tunes would be very easily transmissible. But I'm trying to suggest that it is not just that. Here, I'm trying to locate the Baul phenomenology within established modes of Buddhist and Hindu tantras and yoga. One very major development, as we all know, within these tantras and yoga have been along lines of the metaphysics of sound, right? And I'm trying to think of the tantric chakras and the sounds coming together within the bound body. In doing that, in Kashmiri Shaivism, one of the very important developments has been the theorization of 4 stages of sonic development or oral emanation. That is how sounds develop. And they have located it, this oral emanation, within the body. So, very briefly, the suggestion is that between the Mooladhara and the Shadishtan chakras, which is roughly corresponding to the, if you think about the spine, then roughly corresponding to the anal region and the genitalia. Between these 2 regions is the first very conceptualization of sonic emanation as what is called the Tora state. Tora is when the male and the female energies are inseparable. They're still completely coiled together, non vibrant yet, but full of potential. Followed by the idea is that this is in the oral elimination scheme called the Pashyanti state, when the first sense of differentiation, first vibration occurs at all, when we literally, Pashyanti means to see, when we literally witness the Monet Manch, followed by the very, very important stage for us, which is the Anahata Chakra, the chest region, which is called the Akash as well, Chit Akash, Chidakash, the sky-like expanse, where the first discernible sound is heard. And that's why this chakra is so important. Anahata Chakra means the unstruck zone. That is, unstruck means it is uncaused. It is not propelled by something primary. It is itself primary. It is the first sense of the universal male and female principles coming together as the first buzz, Anahato Nad. This Nad is heard as booming, just as the sky booms with light and sound. And just as that is the ether burns, it burns with light and sound. And that's why Nad is the same as Jyoti, as divine Rupa. Now, this is an important stage because this is the 3rd stage, right? Pora Pashyanti, what is called the Madhyama stage of oral emanation. Now, I propose that when a yogi chooses to give voice to this sound that is already always booming inside the heart, when one is attentive to the travel of yogic breath through the potentially vibrating chakras, when the yogi chooses to give sound, external, audible, differentiated sound, that is when music happens. So music does not only reflect the mind of the Baul, that is, it does not only reflect the meaning of the Baul world, but also the experience of the Baul world, the experience of what is already always heard in the Chidakash as Anahatunad.
So, one of the most interesting things and a note that she has made is she was discussing about the para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikari are the various stages of the speech or the vak as per even the Kashmir Shaiva Siddhanta and the ancient Kashmir system and all the tantric systems. And she is trying to compare this with the Baul path, and she is saying that the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana are the places where there is origination of the sound. Why should Baul sing? They can speak and tell about their philosophy. Why should they sing? They can sing. They can even talk amongst themselves and talk about the philosophy. But why singing? So she's saying this is the source point of the nada, the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana. And then she goes on to say the Pashyanti is seeing. Seeing whom? I am summarizing your point, Sukanya ji. So seeing is like Moner Manush. You are actually the seeing intelligence. And another beautiful point that she is proposing is the Shiva and Shakti coming together, Purusha Prakriti coming together, Radha Krishna coming together and becoming the Samjog and the union is the place of Anahata, the unstruck sound. That's when the sound is emerging. In her beautiful article that she has written, she poses a question here. A yogi can now choose to express this sound or not express and go into silence. And why Baul chooses to sing this experience that they have experienced in Chidakasha. That is the proposal that she is bringing to this. So now I would request Manjari ji, and we would like to hear her views on the Baul tradition on its yogic parampara.
मैं यहाँ पे एक पर्यवेक्षक के रूप में बैठी हुई थी और आप सबको सुनना था, पर कल से आज तक और अभी तक जितना पार्वती जी को जाना है, सहज का सार्थकता समझ में आई है, सहज का सच्चा माने समझ में आया है। हम सब जानते हैं सहज क्या है, स्वाभाविक है, उसके लिए कोई उद्यम नहीं करना पड़ता है। अगर आपका मन उस परमात्मा की ओर, उस कृष्ण की ओर, उस काली की ओर लग गया है, जिसे कहते हैं लौ लग जाना, तो फिर किसी अन्य उपक्रम की ज़रूरत ही नहीं रह जाती है। जो बाउल हैं, उस एहसास की, उस अवेयरनेस की, उस उजास में मस्त होकर के गाते हैं और नाचते हैं, और ये उनकी साधना है जो कि उनके संगीत में, उनके साहित्य में, उनके गीतों में प्रतिध्वनित होती है और हम लोगों को अंदर अंदर तक छू जाती है। हम मर्माहत हो जाते हैं जिस समय हम बाउल गान को देखते हैं। इट्स एक्चुअली नॉट ए परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट, ये एक अनुभूत वेदना है। वेदना वो जो कि सुख में समाहित हो चुकी है। प्रोफेसर सुनीति कुमार ने बहुत सुंदरता से बात कही है, आहार निद्रा भय मैथुनम च सामान्यमेतत् पशुभिर्नराणाम धर्मो हि तेषाम अधिको विशेषः धर्मेण हीनः पशुभिर समाना। तो वो धर्म क्या है? धार्यते इति धर्म, वो ऊपर से आरोपित कर देने वाला कोई अनुष्ठान नहीं है, कोई प्रक्रिया नहीं है, कोई रिचुअल नहीं है। असली धर्म वो है जो हमारा सहज आचरण है। अगर हम गृहस्थ हैं तो घर की देखरेख करना हमारा सहज आचरण है, और गृहस्थ रहते हुए भी बाउल दर्शन को आत्मसात किया जा सकता है और जिया जा सकता है। वी कैन लिव एंड प्रैक्टिस इट डिस्पाइट बीइंग इन द गृहस्थ आश्रम। ये ऐसा धर्म है, ये ऐसा पंथ है, ये ऐसा प्रक्रिया अनुष्ठान है जो कि कहती है कि तुमको कुछ छोड़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, केवल उससे लौ लगाने की ज़रूरत है। और वो कहीं बाहर नहीं है, वो तुम्हारे अंदर है, तुम्हारे अंदरतम का, तुम्हारे अंतरतम में स्थित वो मनुष्य है, मोनेर मानुष। तुम्हें केवल उसे ढूंढना है, केवल उसका साक्षात करना है और साक्षात भी नहीं, उसके पीछे कहीं घूमना नहीं है. जस्ट बी अवेयर ऑफ द शिवत्व. शिवोहम शिवोहम. शंकराचार्य ने भी यही कहा है. हमारे जितने मनीषी हुए हैं उन्होंने सब जो बहुत लहीम शहीम आडंबर युक्त भाषा में कहा है उसको बाउल, बेहद आसान, बेहद सहज, बेहद सरल और एक सहज रूप से जीने का सिद्धांत बता देते हैं. यू कैन लिव इट. द प्रैक्टिस इज लिविंग इट. द बाउल दर्शन इज all about seeing it, believing it and being aware of it. आपके अंदर वो तत्व है, आपको केवल जागरूक करता है बाउल दर्शन. उसके प्रति उससे लौ लगाने के लिए, उससे प्रेम करने के लिए और उस प्रेम में उन्मत्त होकर के गाने बजाने और नाचने के लिए. और वो संगीत नृत्य बावलों का नृत्य नहीं है. वो उस परम पिता को पा चुके, उस प्रिय को, उस सुहृद को, मधुरा भक्ति. इन्होंने कितनी तरह की भक्ति बताई है, वो वात्सल्य के माध्यम से हो सकती है. तो वो हम किसी भी भाव में उसके साथ जुड़ सकते हैं. बात केवल जुड़ने की है, बात केवल अंदर से महसूस हो करके एकाकार हो जाने की है. मैं तो केवल इतना ही समझ पाई हूँ और सहजता से ये बात इन्होंने समझाई है. और यही है सहज पंथ, यही है सजीव भक्ति जो कि लालन फ़कीर ने की है तो फ़कीर कहलाए और पार्वती जी ने कही है तो ये बाउल कहलाई हैं. लेकिन वो सभी इस जीवात्मा के परमात्मा तक की यात्रा का चरम बिंदु है और बेहद सहज सरल और सुलभ दर्शन के तहत, सुकर उपाय के तहत और उसको जी करके महसूस करने का आनंद उठाने की दृष्टि से. धन्यवाद.
बहुत धन्यवाद. आपकी सुंदर और सरल और सहज विशेष रूप से आपने जो विचार किया है. अभी नाउ वी विल रिक्वेस्ट Sumit De, who is with us, and Sumit De has great amount of exposure to the devotional bhakti paths and also has a deep connection with Sri Ramakrishna Ashram. Jo Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had a very deep connection with the Bauls, and he had great reverence for the Bauls. And I think in Kathamrit, just a passage comes where he would say that the Bauls have come from the mist. They sang, they danced, they were in joy, and then they vanished back into the mist. Nobody understood what they were trying to communicate. So that was his emphasis on the devotional intoxication of Bauls. Now this coming from him whose path was completely intoxicated about Divine Mother Kali. That's a great attestation. And I would request Sumit ji to reflect and share some of his thoughts.
I'm really humbled that Parvati ji told me this very morning very casually, why don't you speak? Then I said, what can I speak about? She said, whatever you feel. So I'm not a scholar, neither am I a practitioner in that way, but whatever I have realized, I've felt in my journey in the spiritual path, I'll share some of my feelings, I'd put it like that. So in one of the instances, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa says that, I'll say it in Bangla and then I'll translate, that যেখানে দেখবে উর্জিতা ভক্তি হাসি কাঁদে নাচে গায় সেখানে জানবে ভগবান আছেন. Wherever you see this ecstatic bhakti, people dance, sing, and then go into the bhava, in the trance, you know that God exists there. So from that point of view, if we look at the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who was also a Samanvayak, who took various paths to realize Parabrahman, not only knowing Mother Kali, but also as a Vedantic sadhu, he took sannyas. He was a Vaishnav because he was very much into the love of Krishna, and he always referred to the love of Radha and Krishna to understand what prem is and what premik is. And also the sadhana of other margs, even Sufism being one of them. So, in that light, if we see the Baul tradition and not only the music but the philosophy of the Baul, one sees its deep connection with the spiritual, cultural back hinterland, I would say, of Bengal that was already there. If we go back to the Charyapad, we'll see how the Sandhya Bhasa was used to express deep esoteric spiritual practices. So that is one of the ways to look at Baul, that the secret sadhanas, the rituals of the sadhana, which is very much limited to the antaranga of those who are part of this practice, only they would know. And the Bahiranga is always going back. And not only from Buddhism, one can also look at Vaishnavism. For example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do the Nam Sankirtan pehle in the courtyard of Sribas. And then he goes out into the public and then gives this mantra. Initially it was not allowed that anyone can go in, because one has to go into that state of being to understand, to realize this path. And then he goes out to the public and gives them Mahamantra, and Mahamantra becomes an important part. So these are very important threads which kind of are connected to the Baul path, what I have realized. And to talk about Shaktism and Tantra, if we think about Bhakti in Bengal, we always thought about the Vaishnava Bhakti. We always think about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We think about his followers and Nityananda Mahaprabhu and his followers and disciples. But this particular way of looking at the divinity goes also into the bhakti of Tantra Bhakti or the Shakti Bhakti. I put it like that. Ram Prasad Sen, Kamalakanta Chattopadhyay, they also took up this. And the more important thing is, Kamalakanta Chattopadhyay writes a song which is Shankari Charane Mon Magno Hoye Raure, and he takes it from the Bauls. He puts the tune from the Baul music. So that is another way of connecting the bhakti yoga with karma, and karma in the form of seva as well. Like the Bauls, like we saw in the documentary before, and we heard that they are also concerned about the people, about the jeev around them, the villagers and the anuragis. So it's a kind of a mutual dependence of the anuragis on the Bauls, and the Bauls are always concerned about the anuragis. They go to the anuragis and sing to them the Hari Brahma Nam, and they get the Madhukari from there. So this is a practice that spiritual masters like Sri Ramakrishna always spoke about. He always spoke about music, that Sangeet is the way to reach God very easily rather than spoken words and mantra and all of that. So अंतर की भक्ति और संगीत, इनके जरिए आप ईश्वर तक, उस परमात्मा तक पहुंच सकते हैं, ऐसा उनका मानना था. एंड एट द सेम टाइम ही ऑलवेज सेड दैट जीव रूपी शिव की सेवा करना भी आवश्यक है, जो हमारे बाउल मास्टर्स करते आ रहे हैं. द बाउल मास्टर्स हैव बीन डूइंग दिस फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. एंड इफ वी टॉक अबाउट Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, we cannot possibly keep Rabindranath Thakur out of that league. Rabindranath Thakur, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and also unlike, because Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he would never talk about reading books and scriptures. He was always like internalize the teachings of the book and be a practitioner. That was his thing. And he always said, there's an anecdote I'd quickly share here, that he said before his mortal body, he left his mortal body, that मुझे और एक बार आना पड़ेगा, और इस बार मैं बाउल के रूप में आऊँगा. And Rabindranath Thakur takes it from there, and he says that a song where he says that কোন আলোতে প্রাণের প্রদীপ জ্বালিয়ে তুমি ধরায় আসো, পাগল গো প্রেমিক গো ধরায় আসো. So he is also talking about this prem, that bhakti, this love, and also the yogic connection. What we see in the Vedant, like एक भोक्ता है और एक उसको साक्षी भाव से देख रहे हैं, and how you realize both within you. That is the teaching of our masters like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Even Rabindranath Tagore, where he talks about the Moner Manush, and he says that you can't find the man of the heart outside. I've gone to the market, I've gone to many other places finding him, but I couldn't find him. But as I look inside, then I see that he's there. আছে সে নয়নতারায় তাই না হারায়, that's it's internalized and in my eyes, so that whatever I look at is actually a reflection of him. So this is how I feel that all the bhakti paths of karma, bhakti, gyan, everything is part of the Baul thing. And talking about the repertoire, it is not a song, it's not just a performance, it's a satsang. It's actually a prakash of the bhava. तो भाव कैसे प्रकाश करते हैं? ऐसे जैसे हम नेचर में देखते हैं, कभी बारिश हो रही है, कभी धूप. तो आई थिंक दिस इज ऑल आई कैन से.
बहुत धन्यवाद सुमित जी. बहुत गंभीर बात और बहुत गहराई वाली बात आपने हमारे से बहुत सरल तरीके से शेयर की है. That's what happens when we touch the masters and we talk about their examples. Even the most complex of things become more simple. I just want to reiterate on one aspect where he was talking about the Shakta devotion having an interface with the Bauls. Birbhum as a district itself is one of, we can call it more or less like in the current times, the headquarters of the Bauls in a way, because that's where the maximum number of the Bauls are there. And then you have little bit in the Nadia side and the Bankura. And of course we have on the Bangladesh side, Kustia. But practically Birbhum. Now Birbhum and Bauls are so integrated within the Vaishnava culture, but we also have the Shakta Bauls like Baba Phagla. Many of them who have written great poetry about contemplating on the Divine Mother. In fact, two of the Bauls, performing with us, they come from the family, the youngsters whom you would see again today evening. They come from the family whose family is essentially a Shakta Baul, one can say. Their father was a great Shakta devotee. Birbhum has 5 Shakti Pitas, not 1, not 2. 5 Shakti Pitas. So there is no way anybody can escape Divine Mother there. Over and above that, you have a Siddha Pita of Tarapit. And over and above that, you have the Shakti Pita cum Siddha Pita, which is Bakreshwar. All within the vicinity of just 70 to 80 kilometers. It's a grid of powerhouse. So even Bauls partake the power of the Divine Mother and integrate it. And it's so seamless. There is no way to escape her. So thanks for bringing that up. I would now request our Krishna Kanta, who is the Baul practitioner from Sanatan Siddhashram, to share her perspectives, both from the cultural perspective and her journey so far, and reflect about the path.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.
Thank you so much. I am actually speaking to you all from Sanatan Siddhashram, so from Birbhum, which Ramesh just mentioned. So my pranams to all of you, and infinite gratitude for letting me share a little bit in this frame. And Professor Suniti earlier said that Baul is a Shastra. It's a Shastra of truth. So I have no knowledge of Shastra or otherwise. So the only thing I can offer you in this talk is to speak a little bit about my own experience of being on this path, being about a very junior Baul practitioner, very new to the path. And I will take you through a little bit of an insight into my experiences, my personal inner world that I have encountered with Baul. So interestingly, all the speakers before me, they touched upon the subjects that I think I want to mention. So Sukanya ji, she posed a question and she said, why do Bauls sing at all, and what to focus on? And about the singing of Bauls, I've often heard Parvati Ma say that people like Baul very much, and it's very accessible and easy for people because of the beautiful music. For me, I have to be really honest with you that the Baul music is not easy. And it's not necessarily beautiful. It used to be, now it has changed, but it used to be challenging for me to listen to Baul songs. Because the sound that is produced is so different. The rhythms are completely different. The way in which it is sung, the way in which the sound is produced is completely foreign to my ears. So sometimes when I would listen to Parvati Ma songs, the pitch is so high and the intensity goes so much that I sometimes had the experience either one of us might just explode, either her or me. It was so different and so intense. So I have to say that for me, something that, or what attracted me to the Baul path is not the music itself. It is not the sound that I hear itself. It is not the beauty that I come across externally and that I might grasp. Then Shukanyaji also said, shall we focus on just the meaning and on just the words? Now, I don't understand any Bengali, and the process of learning Bengali is slow. So, of course, I'm now learning the songs and going through them word by word, but also that has not been that which touched me initially and which called me into the path. And I have to say that thinking about this and reflecting about my inner experiences for the frame of this talk, that what attracted me to the Baul path was something so subtle that I cannot hear, that I cannot grasp, that I cannot touch. I cannot even say what it is, but something that subtly grasped me and took me, and something that emanates and resonates and transmits from these Baul masters themselves, from Parvati Ma and the other Baul masters I've met. Something so subtle that I would call the yoga of Baul. So this imprint that this impression that the Baul masters, and just being around them, hearing them sing, but not the audible part of it, just experiencing their presence and their way of life, that intangible aspect, that has been for me, which somehow entered me, and it became, in a way, a choiceless choice to be on this path and to give my whole life to this path and to dedicate everything towards it. In the summary, Ramachandra, he spoke for a moment that the wisdom that was practiced and studied in the traditions, it had to at some point leave the institutions like Nalanda. It had to come out into the villages. So along those lines, I want to share an experience of Madhukori for me. So some 2-3 years ago, I was in Sanatan Siddhashram, and Parvati Ma took a few of my Guru brothers and sisters and myself along with her to do Madhukori in the villages nearby the ashram. So Madhukori meaning we would go and chant the Harinam, and we would collect the sacred alms, meaning collect the rice and vegetables from the villagers in exchange for chanting the holy name. So my experience of this small Madhukori that we did, it was so striking and so deep, where we are finding us walking barefoot through the hot sand and through the hot pavement, entering the villages, exiting the ashram life, exiting the protected space, and being fully in the outside life, in the outside world, even entering the households of the villagers itself. So in the Baul songs, often it is that cook in the kitchen but don't touch the fire, or wash your clothes in the river but don't get wet. So for me, this experience of doing Madhukori, it was like an exemplification of that, where we are going out into the world. We are in the villages, in the houses of people. We are fully engaging with them. We are even in exchange with them. But all that we are doing as the practitioners or as the aspirants is to just keep our full focus on the Harinam, on only chanting the divine name. So we are in complete mingling with the outside world, yet we are not losing that one-minded focus and that chanting of our hearts and of our tongues of the holy name, while at the same time being led, in this case, by our Guru, Parvati Ma, only looking at where she's leading, where Guru is leading the path, and only following that. So for me, this was a very, very strong experience, and I'm sharing this now because for me, I feel that this is an exemplification of that yoga of Baul's, which it has been mentioned before also. It needs to be in the everyday, in everything that we are doing, and being constantly in this meditation. So being in the world while being completely focused and devoted to that one divinity, to that one divine, and chanting that out into the world, living for that while mingling. This was for me my felt experience of the yoga of Baul.
Thank you, Krishnakanta, Sukanyaji, and all the panelists so far who have shared. I've given the paucity of the time. Now I would request Parvati ji to have a concluding reflection about the panel discussion so far and her own thoughts.
Well, why do we sing and dance? That is the whole point of discussion. So there is answer is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Sikshashtakam, the 8 shlokas that he has given to his disciple. Cetadarpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandambudhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. To clean the mirror of the heart and to extinguish the fire of suffering and to receive the benediction from the grace, the karuna of the moon, the benediction moon, which is the consciousness, the true wisdom, and to receive the wisdom as the new bride. To grow the joy within and to taste the nectar every moment we sing and dance. Let this sacred name, let the praise that we sing again and again of our beloved, let it win the hearts. नाम नामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पित नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवं मीदृशामिह जनी नानुरागः. You are present in your name. The moment one utters your name, you are present there. This is why we utter your name, sing and dance again and again. Trinadapi sunicana tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena Kirtaniya sada hari. Be as humble as a grass, blade of grass, like anybody can walk on it, but be strong as a tree. When one walks away, the grass come back again and stand. Sthita prajna, stand still. Be like a tree. No matter what one does to a tree, cut the branches, cut the leaf, cut everything, but it always gives fruits and flowers. To have that inner state, to be able to give love and compassion. Serve and love all, and sing the praise. Sing the praise. As long as you have your voice, as long as you can speak, use this instrument and sing the praise. So, this is why we sing and dance, to be the servant of our beloved Krishna, to sing His praise, and to spread His love. Jai Guru.